Welcome to the Investor Agent Synergy Podcast, where real estate investors and agents come together to build partnerships, create value, and achieve more together. Whether you're an agent looking to unlock new opportunities or an investor seeking the right partnerships, this is the place to learn, grow, and connect. This podcast is proudly sponsored by New Hampshire Homebuyers, a trusted leader in local house buying since 2017. With over 100 glowing reviews and a commitment to being local, fair, and trusted, New Hampshire Homebuyers helps homeowners throughout New Hampshire and Massachusetts sell their homes in any condition. Now, let's dive into the podcast.
Hey everybody, my name's Jeremy and this is my beautiful
Hi,
wife
guys.
Michelle. We are here at the Agent Investor Synergy Podcast, episode 16, which is really exciting. We have a good friend and a good guest that we're excited to share with you guys today. Her name is Katie Oddy. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've known Katie for a few years now. We just started working together professionally, but we've known each other for a while because we met when you were just starting your real estate journey, I believe a handful of years ago.
That's right.
At the Ryan Havisda group, right?
Yep.
And we did one of our, what do we call that? Just a presentation to a brokerage where we come in, introduce ourselves
Agent
and what we do,
outreach.
agent
Yeah.
outreach, and you were there. And but you have grown a lot since then. So we're really excited to hear about your journey today. And Shelley, you want to take us?
Well, let's just start off with when you got into real estate and why, and how long you've been doing it and maybe your market.
Yeah, so I started in September of 2021. I got my license in May 2021, but I joined the Visitor Realty Group at Keller Williams in September. And, I've been doing it for 4 years. In Merrimack County is like my primary market, and then kind of just the radius out from there. So, yeah.
What made you take the leap into real estate? What were you doing before?
So before I got into real estate, I was doing graphic design. That's what I went to college for. I have my degree in it. I did it for 15 years. In between, doing like working for different graphic design agencies and nonprofits and printing companies, and also doing freelance, kind of running my own business with the graphic design. I was like most people during the pandemic, looking for, what's next and sort of reevaluating what I was doing in my life and what I wanted the next few years to look like. And so I had always looked up to a friend of mine. Her name is Kaylin Gallo, and she had been in real estate for her whole entire career. And she helped me buy and sell some houses. And I said to her one day, I was like, what does it look like if I ever did this? And I thought I could never do it because I just had this whole background in graphic design. So I thought that's what I was going to be doing for my whole life. And that got a little stale. So when we were in the pandemic, I had this major opportunity to utilize my time in a different way. And so I was like, I'm just going to try this out, like see what happens with my real estate license and take the class. And, where it goes from there, I don't know. But I think it would be pretty cool to check it out. So before I even had my license, I had heard about Ryan Havisda's team, and I said to her, hey, I want to do real estate. Like, what can I apply for this job they had marketed online? And she's like, well, have you taken the class? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, you might want to start there.
Right.
I was like, okay, what else do I have to do? And she was like, well, take the class, read this book, and then start to put together a list of contacts. And so I did that. And then I called her back and I was like, okay, I'm ready. What do I do next? And that's how I entered my journey into real estate.
Interesting. I mean, that's quite a journey. Now, during the pandemic, with your graphic design business, were you one of the businesses that were like struggling during that time to get work? Were you seriously affected by the pandemic at that time?
So I was working for a company in Concord during that time, and I mean, our business was impacted, and so I was experiencing layoffs every other week. There was another girl who shared a similar position as I, and so she would take a week of being laid off, and then I would take a week of being laid off, and so there was just a lot of uncertainty at that time. And I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? And can I actually even see myself continuing to do this type of work long term? And when I was talking to my other half about that, he was like, well, what about interior design? It kind of taps into your creative side. You know, you might really enjoy that. And I was like, well, I like to do that myself, but I want to get into some other sort of avenue of being creative and maybe just trying something that I hadn't tried before but had a serious interest in.
Well, I would say real estate is a very different business model than graphic design. When I think of graphic design, I think, well, here's somebody who can be introverted and kind of do their own thing and be, you know, successful. But you have to be extroverted to be very successful in real estate. So those are two very different things. Plus, with real estate, I mean, you have to have some kind of sales component to that. And, you know, sometimes that comes naturally for people. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But there's a lot to learn there. I mean, that's a big shift. Were you nervous about that transition?
I think I was, but I think like many people, like you don't really know the job until you're in it. And sometimes it ends up being completely different than what you expect it to be. For me, I don't know if it was a complete 180, but it was different than I expected, but in a very positive way. And I had a pretty strong network in Concord already that existed from a business that my other half owned. And so it was it came pretty naturally for me to just be out talking to people and, you know, knowing what was happening in my community. And
would you say that's one of the things that you like the most about it, or what do you like most about this change in career?
So I think what I like most about this career is, you know, I'm tapping into the skills I already had with graphic design. It allows me to be very creative, especially on the marketing side with properties and just putting information out there on socials. But I would say I'm pretty extroverted. I do enjoy talking to people, and this career has kind of leveled up or elevated my level of confidence, just on a personal and professional sort of aspect. And that's been so rewarding to me because I'm having conversations and feeling like I'm somebody's guide or leader in a way that I never felt confident in doing before. And so I think it's really just changed me as a person. I think that's a really cool
Personal growth is a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I'm speaking for Shelley as well here, but you know, me and Shelley feel really strongly about this. One of our things that we love most about you is that you are just really easy to get along with. You seem genuinely very kind from all our interactions with you. You're really looking to help people. You're, again, easy to talk to, and you do network really well. And I feel like even the group that you're with now, you guys all seem very similar, all very, you know, passionate about helping people, networking, easy to get along with, don't come across pretentious at all, very down to earth and very relatable, and we really like that about you. And
thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say echo the same thing. Like, we could just tell when we started talking to you more how invested you are in helping people and creative problem solving and collaboration with other agents and investors, and just everything about it. I just felt like you found the right spot.
Thank you.
You're definitely good at it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. The funny thing about it is, when I was in my first couple months of practicing real estate, I actually was thinking, like, okay, there's going to be a lot of combativeness and negotiating, and it's going to be difficult. And so I kind of was like, I don't know, that's not really me. But I like kind of tried to negotiate pretty hard with a very experienced veteran agent, and I got put in my place pretty quickly. So I was like, well, that's not really authentic to how I operate. So I'm just not going to be that way. And it doesn't really have to be that way with other agents. And so I learned very quickly, like, my style is going to be creating opportunities for other agents, for my clients, for people in the community. And so that's something that, you know, is just really important to me, no matter who I'm working with and who I'm, you know, meeting.
Yeah. So did it take you a little while to just kind of like identify your niche and what you're going to want to do?
I think it just kind of came sort of naturally once I started getting more and more experience and working with more buyers and sellers. My primary clientele are just residential buyers and sellers. So I think that just kind of flows naturally into who I'm speaking with and who I'm conversing with on a day-to-day basis. It's just easy for me to kind of fall naturally into working with those types of clients.
I love it. With your first year in the business, did you find it slower than expected? Was it busier than expected? What was it like for you?
So I kind of catapulted into real estate pretty quickly. Joining a team, I think was a huge catalyst for my success early on, because I did have the systems and the processes and the experience and people to lean on in the very beginning. And so I'm very grateful for that time with a team. But I also kind of was like, failing wasn't an option. I had a house. I quit my job to do real estate full time. There was no one foot in the door somewhere else and one foot in the door of real estate. It was just like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in and see what happens. And hopefully the outcome is good. And at the time, my other half had just sold his business. So we had no income at the time.
No pressure.
So it was just
Burn
like,
the boats.
we owned a house, we had dogs, we had responsibilities. And sure, I had family and other resources I could lean on. But as almost a 40-year-old person at that time, it was like, had a little bit more pride than wanting to have to go to my parents asking for help. So it was like, let's make this happen. And, there was a lot of different contributing factors, but I think being on a team and really having that kind of support at Keller Williams definitely had a huge...
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of agents on this podcast, and I feel like that's just the common theme is like having a really good team to start out with is what people tell us, help them be successful in the beginning. And then definitely burning the boats. We know how that is.
Yeah, we started our journey at 40, so
if this doesn't work, we don't know what we're going to do, so we make it work. So I love it.
So you're working with buyers and sellers. So you're working as a buying agent and a listing agent, and that's basically what your business model has evolved to. Because some people do one or the other, but there's obviously people that do both. How are you going about getting your clientele at this point? Are you doing any kind of marketing? Is it all referrals? Are you doing some networking, combination of all of the above?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things, but I am partnered with a lot of agents out of state and in the area or agents who have moved out of the area or retired. And so I get a lot of agent referrals that way. Nice. I've also, through my own marketing, through listings, I've gotten buyers through open houses. And then I have a pretty prominent social media channel on Instagram. I wouldn't say that I'm gaining a lot of leads and clientele through that, but I think it helps really support what I'm doing and showing that I'm out there and doing the work. So there's that. And then just through my, network and past clients that I've worked with, we're kind of on that cycle of now they're ready for the next thing and they're ready to sell what they bought with me and move up to another type of property.
I would think with your graphic design and creative side, it probably is a good mix for your branding as well as your marketing for what you're trying to achieve now.
Yeah, it helps. And that's like kind of the fun part about it, right? Because if real estate hadn't been successful, I wanted it to be, but if it hadn't worked out, I had that to fall back on, but I can still integrate that a little bit into what I'm doing. And so that's fun for me.
You can definitely tell, because I actually didn't know that was your background, but I've noticed your social media is really, really good, and that you enjoy it. You can tell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And part of that, I have to give credit to Tony because he does a lot of my video production, especially when it's like a talking head video.
Yeah.
So he helps me out with that and gives me a nudge like, hey, we got to
Good
make
job,
some
Tony.
videos.
Yeah.
So shout out to
credit.
him for
Love
that.
Very good.
I know Shelley wants to ask you about the project that we're currently doing.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I'd like to know, now that you've been a realtor for, 4 years, right? Going on 4 years. What's your favorite thing about being a realtor?
Oh, that's a good one. So my favorite thing, I think, has got to be just being able to make a meaningful impact in someone's life. It does really fill my cup to know that I've created an opportunity or solved a problem or been somebody that another person or family can lean on. And like that is like serving other people in that sort of way is really important to me. And I think that's a lot of the value that I can create for my clients and, other real estate adjacent companies or professionals is just, creating that impact that's going to make them feel good about what they're doing and having a successful outcome.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and you're doing it right now with the buyers, or I should say the buyers, but the sellers of the house that we just bought that you brought us to. And Shelley, if you could please ask about Epsom.
Oh, we just would like to talk about that
Yeah.
deal and how you came upon it and why you brought it to us, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So go ahead.
Yeah. So we kind of came back into each other's worlds when you spoke at Dan and Drew Child's AHA event.
Yep.
And I think we had both been in each other's peripherals for a while through social media. But I just so happened in that 2-week span of you guys speaking at that event and me attending, I came across this young couple who got in touch with me about a house that they owned in Epsom, New Hampshire. They had a major fire with extensive damage. It was totally unlivable. Although it wasn't considered a total loss, they just didn't know what to do with it. It was either they hire contractors and do all the work themselves, they sell it as is, basically kind of based on the raw land price, or something else. And they had a few different people approach them to buy it, and it just wasn't feeling right to them. So we talked, and I took a look at it, and we met each other at that event. And I was like, hey, I know you guys handle difficult properties, like maybe this is one that could work out. And the timing was just right. So we brought you guys in, and
it was great that you did, because we talked to a lot of different agents and we kind of like present what type of houses we're looking for, and they'll reach out to us and say, hey, I think this might be one. And a lot of the time they're not a fit, but that was perfect. It was a great one and a great time. The way that you had us step in and all meet together and everything, we really like to do it that way.
Although houses that old scare me like crazy, I won't lie.
Right. If we
but
came
this house is
across it
different.
by ourselves, maybe not.
No,
I don't
maybe.
really
I don't know. I mean, because for the people listening, this house was built in 1790. It's really, really old. And, typically I don't like any houses pre-1900 because they're old and they just come with a lot of issues. But this one's pretty solid. It has a solid foundation. It's relatively flat, but the whole second floor was completely burned to a crisp. And, these are definitely the type of projects we love, and we appreciate that you're bringing it to us. And I feel like the sellers are pretty relieved, because what happened with, just so the people listening, is we met with you at the house. We walked through. We said, hey, we like it. And then you introduced us to the sellers, and all of us with the sellers met at a Dunkin' Donuts, and we tried to see if we could come to terms on an agreement, which we did. And we're buying it as is in cash, and they're getting their money, which they already did. And we're going to renovate that house. It's going to be a big project for us, but we're excited about it. And on the heels end of that, we were just talking about prior to this recording that you already under contract for their next house. So you're helping them sell this problem house and helping them buy a better house. And although they went through a tremendous experience negatively with this, I think in the end, they're probably going to end up with a better house.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a really cool experience. And I think we've talked about this before in other just conversations since we've reconnected is, I don't know that if we hadn't reconnected, I would have connected the dots to say I could help them, because there was no way. I didn't have the right resources or people in that situation to give them the right sort of advice. And so it was really great that we were able to collaborate and come up with a solution for them.
Like meant to be. The timing just came in line. And, you were just talking about your favorite thing is just providing value and helping somebody, right? Here's a perfect example. You help them out of one terrible situation and put them into another good situation. I mean, that's really helping their life. I mean, they're just a young couple with just a new baby. And you're providing a lot of value for them, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun to see them excited about their new house. And when they bought the house in Epsom, I didn't know them. They had worked with another agent, and they were in the height of the market when things are still kind of like this, depending on the house and the location and sort of what's going on. But they bought that house with no home inspections, over ask, and they were so excited about it. And to have that sort of tragedy happen with a 6-month, or I think at the time it was like a 2-week-old baby, that's so heartbreaking. So it was really cool to see them get excited and get their parents involved and get under contract on this other house with a home inspection that passed with flying colors. So it's fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be cool.
Great. And, and as far as connecting the dots, to circle back to that, Shelley always says that, we want realtors to understand, I have a guy, right? Being us, or it could be anybody else for that matter. We hope it's us. Please be us. But, in that circumstance, right, you're like, all right, I just saw Jeremy and Shelley at Dan and Drew's aha moment, and you're like, okay, this would be a perfect fit for this, right? But you're not connecting the dots because you're going to come across other properties like that. I know we've been talking about the one in Concord, and I'm sure there'll be other ones along the way. And a lot of agents do, but then they're like, what do I do in this situation, right? This doesn't really work for a traditional listing.
Right, and if they're newer and they haven't had experience with this, they might just pass up the opportunity completely and just be like, there's not a lot I can do with that house at all, or to help those sellers, so I'm just going to move on. And now it's like, no, I know who to call, and you'll be able to add all of those in.
But you're helping people out, and obviously you're getting paid for bringing us a house, getting paid for us listing the house with you, and you're helping them find the next house, which you did, and getting paid. And a lot of these circumstances, people are just walking by, right? And you should be getting paid because this is what you do, but you're also getting paid to provide great value. Is so rewarding.
And then it's going to be even more rewarding to be with us through the process as we renovate the house and when we're ready to relist. That's going to be really fun too, to find a new family. There was this tragedy, but now this new family is going to be able to move into this home, and they'll have a nice future as well.
With new electrical.
Exactly.
New electrical.
new safe electrical.
Everything.
New everything.
Seems like. And just to add on to that too, I think I had always been a little bit apprehensive about the investor side because I didn't know how to create an opportunity for an investor. And what I've loved about working with you guys is that, I can come in and ask these questions and feel like very much a novice. And you kind of just take the lead on the parts that I'm not the expert in.
Sure.
And I think for a long time I thought, okay, I have to be an expert in all these different things to be able to work with an investor. And it's like, these things you just don't know how to do them overnight.
Sure.
By, getting a real estate license. It comes with a lot of experience and just getting to know other people and getting their feedback. So I'm learning a ton in the process about just how that works on your side of things and what needs to happen in order for a property to qualify as something that would even work for you.
Right. And if you didn't reach out to us, you would never know any of those things,
Yep.
right? You'd still be guessing. And, the good thing is, too, is like, and Shirley always says this, like, most agents with their clientele, the average person maybe buys or sells a house about every 5 to 7 years, right? But the agents that do really, really well, they typically work with investors as their clients as well, because we could do multiple projects every single year, right? So if you're bringing us some of these problem properties, you're going to obviously get paid for there, provide even more value. Then you get all these listings, and that can have like a compound effect, and then you're building your network on top of that. A lot of great things can happen in a short amount of time, as you've seen already in a short 4 years of being in the business.
Yeah. I actually have a question for you guys that I think would be
okay.
helpful
We're on
for
the spot, people.
helpful for agents like myself
Sure.
that have maybe been intimidated by working with investors. Like, in your mind, what sort of value can a realtor provide to you if they, want to start to build a relationship with an investor?
It's a great question. Would you like
That's a
to
good
answer
question.
first?
Well, I think you'll have a lot to say about that, but my number one is when we start working with an agent that's helping us with investing, it's just like really, really good comps and quickly, because in our business, like, that matters so much. If we're talking to a seller and it could end by tomorrow, we just really need to know, if I buy this house and I put $100,000 into it, what can I get for it? And so that quick and strong comps makes us feel really confident to work with an agent. But there's so much more, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's
And really
a great way
good
to start.
communication, which you're amazing at.
Yeah,
So.
communication's key.
Yeah.
Conservative comps, right? Because although we wish for the best, we have to expect the worst. And then getting information back timely, because, as you know, every little town, little pocket in town can vary differently. A 1,200 square foot house in one town over, even though it's 3 miles, could vary greatly, right? And we need to make sure we know those numbers. So I think that's great. The other thing is, I think, what we're really looking for are properties that just don't fit your traditional listing. And it could be a situation, or it could be a house, right? So the house that we're talking about, the whole second floor is burnt to a crisp, right? It's toast. So what are you going to do with that situation? I guess you could list it, but it's still going to be a cash buyer that's going to do it. And do you really want to be dealing with all those different kind of offers and kind of navigating that? But a lot of times it could be a house where the sellers aren't necessarily maybe distressed. A lot of times it could be distressed and they're facing like foreclosure and they have a short window. They could be hoarders, right? There's a ton of stuff in their house. They don't want to deal with it. They may want to relocate really quickly. So there's a certain circumstances where, like, if I had the time to list it, the time to clean it out, the time to get it right, it would be great. But I don't. That's when they can reach out to somebody like us and we can have that conversation. Here's a situation. This is what Dan and Drew did. Here's a situation. We think it might be fit. What do you think? We're like, yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. And then we can work with the agent. Why don't we set up a meeting where all of us are there together, very transparent, very open, honest, and see if we're all the right fit for each other. And if we are, then we move forward. If we're not, we'll try to provide some value and help them out either way and help the realtor in the process.
Right.
I think it's whenever there's some kind of problem that needs to be solved. So like you said, it doesn't always have to be distress in the house, but there's like distress in the situation. We just had another one in Epping that we worked with an agent on that she brought to us because the family wanted to sell the house, but some of the siblings were living there. They would like to move to, is it Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
But they need to stay in that area for 3 months, and one of them is disabled. So there's like this issue that maybe the agent could help solve alone, but I think bringing us in and all of us meeting together, and we literally sat at the kitchen table and had a problem-solving meeting with these people.
Yeah, for like an hour and a half.
For like an hour, yeah. Those are the kind of deals, because then it's like at the end of the day, we'll figure out something that works for everyone together.
And that's a perfect example, and I'll touch on it briefly, then we want to ask you some more questions about you. And I appreciate you bringing that up, is, this was one that Realtor struggled, like you said, didn't really know how to connect the dots. We've talked about a few different properties. None of them were the right fit, but this one was, and I said, this is exactly the situation. Get us an appointment. We went there, and we had to pull the information out of them and what they needed help for. And not only was they needed help for stay local for 3 months, which they weren't telling us at first. This was a probate situation. So they had to sell the house because it was the siblings were dividing it, but one of the family was living there. The elderly, the daughter, grown daughter's disabled. She was a recent amputee. She's getting fitted for a prosthetic. She has to stay local for 3 months for the summer to do the the rehabilitation for it. Then the realtor is going to help them find a place in Pennsylvania. But the house is in complete disrepair too. I mean, it needs a new roof, it needs new siding, it needs new windows, new electrical, new plumbing. I mean, you name it, because the house hasn't had any updates in 30-something years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just all these things come together. So what we're doing is we're taking the family. We actually have one of our rental properties that just
that
became
worked out
vacant.
so well.
Perfect
Cool.
timing.
Yeah.
We're literally housing them in one of our rental units for
are.
3 months until the summer's over, so she can stay local to get her therapy for
Turned
her
out
prosthetic.
to be close enough to her appointments for the summer.
Yep, we're moving them in. They're
Yeah.
leaving everything behind. They don't have
Yeah.
to worry about cleaning up because they thought they had to like clean the house and get rid of all this 30 years of debris, and then like you don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah. And those are real problems.
Those are real problems.
Real problems that people are
Truly.
faced with, and
Every
they
day.
don't know what to do with. And
No.
so I don't even know what to do with them sometimes either.
Right.
Even though, I see a lot of this stuff all the time.
Yeah, I
So-
know. And that's what the Agent Investor Synergy podcast is about,
Yeah.
is bringing that connection together, providing more value together in collaboration.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get rid of the people that's like agents against investors, investors against agents. No,
Yeah.
we're
No,
family.
we're all
We're all
working
trying
together.
to provide value
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
I mean, I think it's all about creating opportunity for one another, right? Because, I call you in for support and help on a deal, and then, there might be another opportunity later on for me to help you sell one, or we're selling the one in Epsom when that's done.
Absolutely.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's opened my eyes to a whole other side of how my relationships with investors can work.
Yeah, because for us, we have a great relationship now, and even some of the properties that we don't do with you, you're still going to get those listings. So you're getting more business from us, but you're also bringing us business. So this is a world where we can help each other.
Yeah.
But in the end, the sellers who are in these tough situations are the ones who really need the help.
Yes.
And it's something we're very passionate about with our house buying business. But there's a lot of realtors that are passionate about that too, but they just don't know how to go about it. So now we're
And it
showing
also
examples
happens
how.
when we have leads that come in that just they aren't a fit for us.
Right,
They
they're a
should
listing
list
lead.
on the market, and then of course we would just contact you or
all the other agents that we work with.
with,
and
for
try to
sure.
spread that wealth
because that
around.
happens a lot where we tell people no, like we actually aren't the fit. You should put it on the market.
Yeah.
So
And I think the other thing that you were just talking about with the Epping House and the Epsom House is sometimes it's not all about the final dollar amount. It's not always about getting the highest price for your client as a realtor. Sometimes it's just about time and convenience. And that can be way more valuable than just getting the highest number.
Right.
And that's where I think like us working together is very meaningful and has a huge impact.
Couldn't agree more, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think of the Epping House again, right? So they could have listed it and probably got more money for it, but they would not have any housing for the temporary housing for the summer. They'd have to get everything out of the house, right, and all these different things. And they don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, I'd love to get more money, but if you could do all this and we can agree on a number that works for both of us, this is way more valuable than a few more
the
dollars.
look of relief on their
they're
faces when they
crying.
realize they're like, wait a second, somebody can help us pack, somebody can help us move, you're gonna coordinate things for us. Wait, you can do this on my timeline? Like, how is this even possible? There's so many people that don't even realize that.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because we wouldn't have even been involved in it, if the agent hadn't brought us. And they may not have even sold. They might have just said, nope, we can't do this because they didn't know all those options were out there. They might have just sat on it longer, and now it's able to happen.
And the agent
for
will
them.
help them relocate to Pennsylvania, which
Yep.
she will probably get some kind of referral fee for that as
Yeah.
well. So just a win all the way
great.
around, and
Yeah.
just what we love.
Yeah, it's hard enough as it is to move,
Oh my goodness.
let
So
alone
much.
all those other problems.
Yeah.
So,
Just a few things logistically here to overcome. As we wrap up this podcast, which has been a tremendous episode, and thank you so much for being on it.
yeah, thanks for having me.
What is your future as a real estate agent now? I mean, you're 4 years in. What does the future look for you?
My plan is to continue in production. I really love doing what I'm doing. I mean, 4 years isn't that long in anything. So I wouldn't even consider myself an expert. There's still so much more to continue to learn and do and accomplish. But I do see myself creating some products for agents that will hopefully launch later this year.
Can you give us an idea?
Yeah, it'll probably be like some digital products,
Okay.
some blueprints on different systems and processes, and maybe even some master classes to build on that. So,
Wow, exciting.
I love
exciting.
it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you're probably not going to own a brokerage or build a team or anything. You think you're going to continue as your agent, but also add this to your business as well?
I think so. For
now.
yeah, I'm an independent agent right now. I'm loving having that freedom
Sure.
and ability to build in a different way and try some new things. And so that's been really, really fun. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see
All
where
right.
things go.
Couple more rapid fire questions here. So as an agent who has 4 years of experience, what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned to date?
It's all about the client. It's always all about the client. You make it about them, and then the good stuff will come back to you.
I love it. If there was somebody in your shoes 4 years ago, thinking about a job change, I don't like what I'm doing. I know some people in real estate. It looks glamorous. It looks fun. It looks exciting. It looks like I might be a fit for it. What would you tell that person about taking that life change?
I think, you got to be ready to hustle. You got to be ready to put the work in. Having systems, processes, and really good support in place is going to be key. And, it looks easy from the outside, but there's a lot happening in the background.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
To put it as simply as possible. But I think it's just, if you are ready to persevere and be persistent and work really hard, you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to meet some great people along the way.
I agree with that. All right. Last question for me. You're an agent, you're curious of what it would be like to work with an investor like us. You haven't done it before. What is some advice you could give somebody who's wants to cross that threshold into working with an investor? Yeah,
I think it's just about being prepared to let your guard down and not be the expert. Let somebody else guide you through that, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I think, if I had done this with you guys 4 years ago, I probably would have felt like a little bit more of an imposter and trying to catch up and pretend like I know what's going on when in reality I had no idea. And now I think I've just learned that there's so many different avenues of this business, and just in any business really, but there's so many different aspects and things to consider that it's okay if you as a newer agent don't know those things, and just let somebody else lead you. It's okay. You're going to learn a lot along the way, and you're going to be able to provide some sort of value or contribution in a different way.
I love that.
I think that's really good advice.
Any other questions for you?
I don't think so.
All right. No. So if anybody wants to connect with you, how's the best way of them finding you and connecting with you?
Yeah. So I have an Instagram channel, Katie Oddy _Realtor, I think. Hopefully that's right. But if you search Katie
How do you spell
Oddy,
your last name?
It's spelled Oddy. I have a website, katieoddy.com,
Awesome.
and all my information's on
We'll
there.
put all that in the
Add
show
links.
notes.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Katie, thank you so much for this episode.
Yes, thank
Tremendous
you.
job.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode here, the Agent Investor Synergy Podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. We had a great guest. So much fun. Hope it brought a lot of value. Until next time, we'll see you then. Take care, guys. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with others who could benefit from stronger partnerships in real estate. And a big thank you to our awesome sponsor, New Hampshire Home Buyers, helping homeowners with fair professional solutions since 2017. For more information about New Hampshire Home Buyers, how they can help you or someone you know, please go visit nhomebuyers.net. Until next time, remember, success in real estate is better together. See you on the next episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast.